day everyone, I'm Teacher Roji and I will be your teacher in Business Finance. Our first topic is Introduction to Finance, which involves knowing the shareholders, the role of financial management, the organizational chart, and identifying the function of a financial manager and financial planning. The next topic will be the financial institution, the financial instruments, and the financial markets. General objectives. What you will learn. In this chapter, you will define finance, describe the goal of the firm, maximizing the value of the firm, identify factors that influence the change in market price. Skills you will use. In this chapter, you will identify the primary objectives of the financial manager, demonstrate the activities of the financial managers. Why is this important? To be able to explain the major role of financial management and the different individuals involved, and to have an appreciation of what the overall objective of management should be. According to Benjamin Franklin, beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship.
Budgeting is a life skill and one that is particularly important while you are a student. While at uni, your finances are never at their best. The keys to budgeting as a uni student are: know what you're spending, have a budget, increase your income, decrease your expenditure, and seek help when you need it. Know what you're spending. Track everything you are spending for 2 to 4 weeks. Identify where your money is going, to needs, wants, or wishes. Needs are essential items like food and rent. Wants are things that can make life more comfortable, such as eating out, nice clothes, or gym membership. Wishes are things that you would like to purchase in the future, such as a holiday, car, or Christmas gifts. Prepare a budget. Use an online budget planner, a spreadsheet, or a simple notebook. Document what you spend on your needs, followed by what you would like to spend on your wants and wishes. Document your income and compare it to your expenditure. The basic philosophy is that you need to have more money coming in than what's going out. The trick is finding a balance between needs, wants, and wishes. If your budget won't balance, you have more money going out than what's coming in, you only have 2 options. Firstly, increase your income. Secondly, decrease your expenditure. Do not get trapped into high interest loans. Remember, you only have these 2 options. So how do you decrease your expenditure? Firstly, look at your wants. These are usually the easiest to adjust. Ways to decrease your wants may include combining some things such as exercise and social activity. Make sure you ask for student discounts everywhere you go. Reduce food costs by buying food in bulk, buying home brand for staples, and buying fresh from local markets, including from JCU Farmers Market each Thursday on your campus. Check out free events on the JCU website, especially those with free food. Buy textbooks second-hand, online or at the co-op bookshop. Buy second-hand household items from online sites such as Buy, Swap and Sell and Gumtree. Shop around when buying new household items. Always ask for their best price. Reduce medical costs. Find a medical centre that bulk bills so you have no out-of-pocket expenses. Also check if you're eligible for the low-income healthcare card through Centrelink. Don't pay off your help debt until you have to. It's the cheapest loan you'll ever get. Go to studyassist.gov.au to find out more. So how can you increase your income? Are you getting all your entitlements from Centrelink? Check out their website and join their student Facebook page for all the latest information. Do you have time for casual or part-time work? Visit JCU's Career Hub website or other sites such as your local Jobs Central Facebook page and sites such as Seek, Indeed and Career One. Are there JCU student loans or grants or scholarships you can apply for? Check out what you may be eligible for on the JCU website. Do you need a rental bond? You may be eligible for a no-interest bond loan through the Department of Housing. Go to the link on the screen or call them directly. Do you need a new fridge, computer, car repairs or have medical expenses? You may be eligible for a no or low interest loan. Call the numbers on the screen. So you've fallen behind in your budget and can't pay the bills or purchase what you need like food. Don't just ignore it, seek help early. If you are having difficulties paying your rent, then contact Red Cross. If you can't pay a bill, talk to the provider. For instance, Ergon Energy has a customer assist program. If you can't buy food, contact the JCU Student Association. They may be able to provide a food voucher. And if you need general support with food or household goods, then contact St Vincent de Paul. JCU Counselling is where you can go to discuss any concerns, including financial. Make an appointment to talk about what's going on for you and to get more information. JCU Counselling also do workshops and presentations, including a full version of Budgeting 101 in O-Week each semester. Visit the website for self-help info sheets, including one on budgeting. Email, phone or drop in to level 1 of the library to make an appointment. Happy budgeting.
Definition of terms. Money. Money is any object that is generally accepted as payment for goods and services and repayment of debts in a given country or socio-economic context. The main functions of money are distinguished as a medium of exchange, a unit of account, a store of value, and occasionally a standard of deferred payment. Capital is a term for financial assets, such as funds held in deposit accounts and or funds obtained from special financing sources. Budgeting is the act of estimating revenue and expenses over a period of time. Stocks, also known as equity, is a security that represents the ownership of a fraction of a corporation. Sources of funds includes credit, venture capital, donations, grants, savings, subsidies, and taxes. What is finance? It is defined as the science and art of managing money. It is according to Gitman and Sutter. It is required to establish, run, modernize, expand, and diversify a business. It is a broad term that describes activities associated with banking, leverage or debt, credit, capital markets, money, and investments. It represents money management and the process of acquiring needed funds. It is defined as the management of money and includes activities such as investing, borrowing, lending, budgeting, saving, and forecasting.
Oh no, my computer's freaking out again. I have to call...
No need to call a professional, Michael.
Oh, it's you. The mysterious stranger in my computer who cares about me so much.
That's right. I care about you and your future. I'm here to help you achieve a good future.
And you're still not going to tell me who you are?
You're so smart, I'm sure you'll figure it out. Eventually. In the meantime, let's take the next step towards your brighter future. Do you know what finance is?
Finance means money, right?
Close enough. Finance is about managing money and all things related to money, like credit, banking, and investment.
Let's see. I have no money, really. I do have credit. I have a bank and no investments.
That's what we're going to talk about. Finance does three major things. One, it's actually a time travel machine. You could save money now to use tomorrow, or you can use credit to spend today what you'll earn tomorrow.
Time travel thing, huh?
2. Using finance correctly will protect you in case you run into troubles, like falling sick, having an accident, or losing your job.
Protection. Nice.
3. Finance gets money to people who have business ideas, but don't have enough money to realize them.
Right, I knew that one.
So, finance is divided into 3 areas. First, personal finance. Personal finance is being able to answer the age-old question. How come my neighbor drives a convertible BMW while I have a second-hand Kia? Or more to the point, why is my credit card bill bigger than my lifetime savings? Second, corporate finance. That's how companies make decisions about raising and investing money, like how much equity or debt to use and which investments to make and when.
Whoa, equity? What's that?
When you have equity, that means you own part of a company. Ownership is represented by shares of stock. You've heard of them.
And what exactly did you mean when you said debt?
Debt is money borrowed by a company or a person that they need to repay. Got it?
Got it.
The third area of finance is how government and public sector companies raise and spend money. But let's focus on personal finance for now, since you look like you're a person, not the government. Am I right?
Right, you want to explain something that helps me.
Personal finance is about securing your financial future. You'll learn to manage your personal budget, your investment portfolio, and make smart choices in your life. There are 3 fundamental principles you have to follow. The first principle is adopting sound personal habits and discipline. This includes things like saving regularly, not borrowing what you can't repay, and sticking to your monthly budget.
What? You want me to start saving now? I can hardly make ends meet.
Absolutely now. Start setting money aside as soon as humanly possible. If you can afford only a small share of your income every month, that's what you put aside. You'll earn interest, and when you reinvest that, your small savings will grow into large savings over time. This is called compounding, and it works like magic in the long run.
And credit cards? Can I use those?
As long as you can pay off the balance at the end of each month. Otherwise, no. The second principle is planning ahead, like starting early to plan for retirement, making compounding work for you, and getting proper health and property insurance.
What? Retirement? Me? I just finished school.
Here's the thing. If you don't save for your retirement now, you'll have to work until age 100. But relax. You've got 2 great things going for you. Compounding is 1. Reinvest interest and dividends you earn, and let them accumulate in your account so they can earn income.
Nice. I save a little money every month. The little money earns money, which becomes a lot of money over time.
Right. Your money will make money. The second thing working for you is stocks or equities. They go up and down, but in the long run, they earn good returns that beat inflation.
So I should invest everything in stocks, yes?
No. Stocks should account for the largest part of your portfolio, but you should always diversify. Which brings me to the third principle. You have to keep your portfolio diversified with a balance of cash, bonds, and equities, and, if possible, some real assets, like a home or some commodities. You should review your portfolio regularly and adjust it to make sure it stays balanced. And you should use dollar cost averaging to smooth average purchase prices.
Dollar cost averaging? What on earth is that?
Say you want to invest $12,000 in an index fund that tracks the U.S. stock market. You can buy $1,000 worth every month for a year. This makes sure you buy more units when the price is low, and less units when the price is high. It also forces you to save regularly. That's dollar cost averaging.
Gotcha. That's a cool trick. And index funds, are they a good thing?
Yes, index funds track the average evolution of a stock market. They offer diversification, liquidity, and low cost. ETFs, or exchange-traded funds, are a particularly popular type of index fund. They are traded on stock exchanges and can track anything from the Chinese stock market to the price of gold.
Okay, so you want me to do 3 things: be disciplined, plan ahead, and diversify. And that's good because...
Because it will go a long way toward helping you achieve material comfort and financial security.
I knew that. I was just testing you.
Speaking of tests, let's see what you've learned. Which of the following is a good idea? Answer yes or no. Start saving for retirement when you reach age 50.
No, I should start saving now.
Right. Next, save a regular % of your income regardless of how much you earn.
I know that one. Yes, a small amount will become a big amount over the years.
Excellent. Next, put all your money into stocks because they offer the highest returns.
No, diversify.
Wonderful. Last question. Invest in stocks through ETFs or index funds.
Yes, they give me diversification and they don't cost much.
Wow, you are a good student. That makes the sacrifice I made to be here worth it.
Sacrifice? What are you talking about?
What? I shouldn't have said anything.
Sacrifice? What did you sacrifice?
Look at the time. I gotta go. Until next time.
Below is a list of the most common examples of finance activities. Investing personal money in stocks, bonds, or guaranteed investment certificates, or GICs. Borrowing money from institutional investors by issuing bonds on behalf of a public company. Lending money to people by providing them a mortgage to buy a house with. Using Excel spreadsheets to build a budget and financial model for a corporation. Saving personal money in a high-interest saving account. Developing a forecast for government spending and revenue allocation. What is business finance? Money required to carry out business activities is called business finance. Business finance, the raising and managing of funds by business organizations. Knowing the shareholder. A shareholder or stakeholder, also referred to as a stockholder, is a person, company, or institution that owns at least one share of a company's stock, which is known as equity. Because shareholders are essentially owners in a company, they reap the benefits of a business success. Stakeholders also include management, suppliers, customers, creditors, regulatory agencies, and the community where the company operates. The overall objective of a shareholder should be wealth maximization. Wealth maximization versus profit maximization. Wealth maximization as an objective to financial management and other business decisions enables the shareholders to achieve their objectives and therefore is superior to profit maximization. While profit maximization is the short-run or long-run process by which a firm may determine the price, input, and output levels that lead to the highest profit. Wealth maximization. Wealth maximization is based on the cash flows into the organization. It emphasizes on long-term goals, It considers the time value of money. It serves the interest of suppliers, financiers, employees, management, consumers, and society. The concept is defined precisely, but policies to achieve the object not elaborated. Companies using this policy bring new innovative products and services to consumers. The aim is to produce quality products at a low cost. Wealth maximization considers risk and uncertainty. Profit maximization. Profit maximization is based on the increase in sales and accounting profits of the organization. It emphasizes on short-term goals. It ignores the time value of money. It leads to the exploitation of employees and consumers. The concept of profit lacks clarity. Profit is neither defined precisely nor correctly. Companies sticking to this policy stick to the same product line without modification or upgradation. The object is profit maximization, hence the quality of the product may not be maintained. Profit maximization ignores risk and uncertainty. Factors that influence market price goes into two considerations. Number one is controlled by management. Number two is uncontrollable external factors. Under controlled by management, we have profitability, having a good liquidity and reasonable leverage position, dividends, competent management which affects the company's operating efficiency, and coming up with corporate plans that prospects of the company. Under uncontrollable external factors, we have macroeconomic conditions, political instability, prospects of the industry where company operates, general market sentiments, and flow of foreign funds invested in the Philippine stock market. We have here the illustrative example. To illustrate, Globe Telecom Incorporated shares closed at 2,200 pesos on April 25, 2016. As of that date, Globe's total shares outstanding was 132,742,402. The market value of the shares as of that date was more than 292 billion. This amount represents the value of shareholders' wealth. As the shares are actively traded in the Philippine Stock Exchange, the price of the stock and the total market value of the shares may change every trading. The changes in the price of a stock can be a confluence of many factors. It may be profitable operation, nature of the business, prospects of the business, projected earnings and time frame for the realization of such projected earnings, ability to meet maturing obligations, appropriate capital structure, dividend policies, investing decisions, management, and market sentiments. Introduction to Financial Management. Financial management starts with a plan. This applies to both individuals and companies. It is not enough to have a cash and other resources today. Such resources, if not managed properly, can be wiped out. Hence, financial management is a must. From the perspective of corporation, financial management deals with decisions that are supposed to maximize the value of shareholders' wealth. This means maximizing the market value of the shares of stocks. Shares of stocks represents the form of ownership in a corporation. Financial management is concerned with the proper management of funds and involves decisions relating to efficient acquisition and allocation of funds. Role of financial management. Financial management deals with decisions that are supposed to maximize the value of shareholders' wealth. This is according to Kayanan of 2015. These decisions will ultimately affect the market's perception of the company and influence the share price. The goal of financial is to maximize the value of shares of stocks. Managers of a corporation are responsible for making the decisions for the company that would lead towards shareholders' wealth maximization. This is an illustrative example of a corporate organizational structure. This particular set of people each play a role in the decision-making of the company. From the diagram presented, each line is working for the interest of the person on the line above them. Since the managers of the company are making decisions for the interest of the board of directors, and the board of directors does the same for the interest of the shareholders, it follows that the goal of each individual in a corporate organization should have an objective of shareholders' wealth maximization. The following slides will discuss briefly the roles of each position identified. Shareholders elects the board of directors. Each share held is equal to 1. Since the board of directors is elected by the shareholders, their responsibility is to carry out the objectives of the shareholders. Otherwise, they would not have been elected in that position. Board of Directors or BOD is the highest policy-making body in the corporation. The board's primary responsibility is to ensure that the corporation is operating to serve the best interest of the stockholders. Responsibilities of the board of directors: setting policies on investments, capital structure, and dividend policies. Approving companies' strategies, goals, and budgets. Appointing and removing members of the top management, including the president. Determining top management's compensation. And approving the information and other disclosures reported in the financial statements. President or the Chief Executive Officer. The roles of a president in a corporation may vary from one company to another. The president cannot manage the company on his own, especially when the corporation has become too big. To assist him are the vice presidents of different functional areas: finance, marketing, production, and administration. Responsibilities of a CEO or the president: overseeing the operations of a company and ensuring that the strategies as approved by the board are implemented as planned. Performing all areas of management: planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. And representing the company in professional, social, and civic activities. Vice President or VP for Marketing is a marketing expert who takes responsibility for overall marketing results of a company. He oversees marketing strategies and efforts in order to strengthen company's market position and achieve desired business goals. Vice President for Marketing responsibilities are formulating marketing strategies and plans, directing and coordinating company sales, performing market and competitor analysis, analyzing and evaluating the effectiveness and cost of marketing methods applied, conducting or directing research that will allow the company identify new marketing opportunities. Examples, variants of the existing products or services already offered in the market. And lastly, promoting good relationships with customers and distributors. Vice President for Production plans, directs, and coordinates the development and manufacture of all products made by the company. He will correspond with both internal and external parties and will usually manage 2 or 3 senior or executive producers. Responsibilities of VP for Production: ensuring production meets customers' demands, identifying production technology or process that minimizes production cost and make the company cost competitive, coming up with a production plan that maximizes the utilization of the company's production facilities, and identifying adequate and cheap raw material suppliers. Vice President for Administration: lead, guide, and mentor administrative staff in their tasks and functions. Integrate and coordinate functions of administrative, finance, sales, and marketing departments. Develop innovative strategies to enhance performance of the administrative staff. Responsibilities: coordinating the functions of administration, finance, and marketing departments. Assisting other departments in hiring employees. Providing assistance in payroll preparation, payment of vendors, and collection of receivables. Determining the location and the maximum amount of office space needed by the company, and identifying means, processes, or systems that will minimize the operating cost of the company. Vice President for Finance: directing all aspects of accounting operations, overseeing all transactions related to general ledger, receivables, payables, payroll, and financial reporting. Analyzing company's financial results with respect to profits, trends, cost, and compliance with budgets. As for Vice President for Finance, they have 4 basic functions. They are the financing decisions, investing decisions, operating decisions, and the dividend policies. One of the 4 basic functions is the financing decisions, which includes making decisions on how to fund long-term investments, such as company expansions, and working capital, which deals with the day-to-day operations of the company. Take, for example, the purchase of inventory, payment of operating expenses, and others. Determining the appropriate capital structure of the company. Capital structure refers to how much of your total assets is financed by debt and how much is financed by equity. Financing, to determine the appropriate capital structure of the company and to raise funds from debt and equity. Here is a table which shows sample of capital structure. Recall that assets is equal to liabilities plus owner's equity. To be able to acquire assets, our funds must have come somewhere. If it was bought using cash from our pockets, it is financed by equity. On the other hand, if we used money from our borrowings, the asset bought is financed by debt. In the figure above, The total assets is financed by 60% debt and 40% equity. Accordingly, the capital structure is 60% debt and 40% equity. Another function for Vice President for Finance: investing decisions. Investment decisions are the financial decisions taken by management to invest funds in different assets with an aim to earn the highest possible returns for the investors. It involves evaluating various possible investment opportunities and selecting the best options. Investing is where to put excess cash to make it more profitable. We expand that definition by including cash held taken from funds as a result of financing decisions. Investment may either be short-term or long-term. Short-term investment decisions are needed when the company is in an excess cash position. Number 1. Plan for expected excess in cash using financial planning tools such as budgeting and forecasting. Number 2. Choose which type of investment should invest in that would secure the best profits. Long-term investment should be supported by a capital budgeting analysis, which is among the responsibilities of a finance manager. This is a crucial function of management, especially if this investment would be financed by debt. Capital budgeting analysis is a tool to assess whether the investment will be profitable in the long run. The third function of the Vice President for Finance is operating decisions. Deals with the daily operations of the company. The role of the VP for Finance is determining how to finance working capital accounts such as accounts receivable and inventories. The company has a choice on whether to finance working capital needs, long-term or short-term sources. Short-term sources are those will be payable in at most 12 months. This includes short-term loans with banks and suppliers' credit. Suppliers' credit are the amounts owed to suppliers for the inventories they delivered or services they provided. Obligations with them have to be paid on the time to maintain good supplier relationship. Short-term sources pose a trade-off between profitability and liquidity risk. Because the source matures in a short period, there is possibility that the company may not be able to obtain enough cash to pay their obligation. Long-term sources matures in longer period. The lenders expect more risk and place a highest interest rate, which makes the cost long-term sources higher than short-term sources. The choice between the short-term and the long-term sources depends on the risk and return trade-off that management is willing to take. Two types of liquidity risk: risk that the company will fail to pay its short-term obligations, and risk that you will not be able to sell investments in financial assets immediately. Dividend policies. These determine when the company should declare cash dividends. Cash dividends are paid by the corporation to existing shareholders based on their shareholdings in the company as a return on their investment. Some investors buy stocks because of the dividends they expect to receive from the company. Non-declaration of dividends may disappoint these investors. Before a company may be able to declare cash dividends, two conditions must exist. The company must have enough retained earnings to support cash dividend declaration, and the company must have cash. Financial planning is very important in a company because it refers to the process and function of determining capital requirements of a business and deciding the various sources from which it can be procured. It also required to tackle the uncertainty in respect of availability and timings of funds. This is a process of calculating the amount of capital that is required by an organization. And why financial planning is important? Number 1, it seeks to eliminate waste of funds and provide better financial control. Number 2, it takes care of inflow and outflow of funds and ensures liquidity throughout the year. Number 3, it aims at efficient and optimum utilization of surplus funds for the benefits of business. Number 4, it ensured increased profitability through cost-benefit analysis and by avoiding wasteful operation. And lastly, helps you see the big picture and set long and short-term life goals, a crucial stage in mapping out your financial future. The key topics and concepts in these lessons are the definition of financial terms, money, capital, budgeting, stocks, sources of funds, and profits. Shareholders' wealth maximization should serve as the overriding objectives of managing a company. These objectives captures the different facets of operating a company, including profitability, liquidity, capital structure, concerned with the different stakeholders of the company. Organizational structure covers the roles of the different managers in a corporation, from the board of directors to the president and the different vice presidents. The role of the financial managers in operating, investing, financing, and dividend policies were highlighted. And lastly, the financial planning, which plays an important role in financial management. I hope you understand our lesson, and goodbye. General objectives. What you will learn. In this chapter, you will distinguish a financial institution from a financial instrument and financial market. Compare and contrast the different financial instruments. Identify the role of financial institutions and markets. Skills you will use. Describe the role of financial institutions and markets. Enumerate the varied financial institutions and their corresponding services. Why is this important? to be able to understand the role and importance of financial institution, financial instruments, and financial markets to individuals and businesses. Overview of the financial system. Savings can come from households, individuals, companies, government agencies, or any other entity whose cash inflows are greater than their cash outflows. The financial system, through financial intermediaries, provides a mechanism by which these savings can be channeled to users of funds, borrowers, and investors. Some of the financial instruments issued by users of funds, such as the shares of stocks and corporate bonds of publicly listed companies and the debt securities issued by the national government, can be traded. The financial market provides a system for the trading of these securities. The Philippine Stock Exchange offers facilities for the trading of shares of publicly listed companies. Financial systems are intermediaries that channel the savings of individuals, businesses, and governments into loans or investments.
The financial system. In 1907, financial panic broke out in the United States. The stock market crashed and people stormed the banks. The banker J.P. Morgan brought together the rich elite of America into a single room and forced them to loan money to the banks in order to prevent a collapse of the financial system. 101 years later, 9 heads of the largest banks in the United States congregated in a room at the Ministry of Finance and did not exit until they signed their consent to receive a government bailout of $250 billion US dollars. Why is the financial system so important that everything must be done in order to prevent its collapse? The financial system is composed of institutions and markets. Its job is to act as a broker between those who need money or capital and those who have capital. It's responsible for allocating capital in the world. Who has capital? Households, companies, and governments that deposit in banks money that they have saved or that invest money in the capital markets. Who needs capital? Households, companies, and governments need more money than they have for household purchases, recruitment of workers, development, technology, and the building of infrastructures. Brokering is done directly through the purchase of securities, bonds, or shares. Investors basically transfer money to companies or governments, or indirectly to banks and financial institutions, which take deposits and essentially provide loans to whoever needs money. When a company sells shares, it's raising capital for its activities, and in return, it gives investors a stake in its ownership. Shareholders are meant to share in the profits of the company, which they receive as dividend payments. When a company sells bonds, it's lending money. The investor who purchases the bond is a lender, but has no ownership. He's supposed to receive interest payments of the entire loaned sum at the end of the period. An example of allocating capital through bonds is China, which purchases from its export revenues bonds of the United States government, thereby financing it. When we save and invest money, we hope to increase our capital. Pension saving, for instance, is meant to finance our retirement. In exchange for loaning money to someone else, we receive yield and our money grows. Without brokerage, the global financial system would look completely different. The achievements of the financial system are not negligible, and when it failed, the results were catastrophic. In the crisis, panic took over and trust in the financial system was destroyed. The desire to lend money dissipated.
Figure 1 is the overview of the financial system. The financial system links the savers and the users of funds. Under the savers, we have households, individuals, corporations or companies, and government agencies. Under financial intermediaries, we have banks, insurance companies, stock exchange, stock brokerage firms, mutual funds, and other financial institutions. Under users of funds, or the borrowers or the investors, we have the households, the individuals, the corporations or the companies, and the government agencies. As shown in Figure 1, the same entities can be savers and users of funds. One entity may have savings today, but may be needing funds in the future. For example, for expansion. Overview of the financial institution. What is financial institution? A financial institution is an organization that provides financial products and services to customers. Financial institutions provide products like checking and other accounts that help consumers manage money. They provide services and advice to help consumers meet their financial goals. The next slides will discuss the different functions that each financial intermediary or institution may perform. Banks, insurance companies, stock exchange, stock brokerage firms, mutual funds, pension funds, and other financial institutions. Banks. Banks provide mechanism where savers can put their excess funds through deposits. Banks give the depositors interest on the money deposited to them. To cover for the interest given to depositors, banks lend the money to borrowers after performing a credit investigation. Some deposit can also be invested in some financial instruments like government securities and corporate bonds. Banks also serve as conduits of investors in buying and selling government securities and corporate bonds. They must be regulated by the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas because they take deposit and there is a public interest involved. Banks. Central banks are the financial institutions responsible for the oversight and management of all other banks. Retail and commercial banks offered products to individual consumers, while commercial banks work directly with businesses. A newer entrant to the financial institution market are internet banks, which work similarly to retail banks. Internet banks offer the same products and services as conventional banks, but they do so through online platforms instead of brick-and-mortar locations. Insurance companies. Insurance companies offer different products. Insurance products can be broadly categorized into life insurance products and non-life insurance products. Life insurance products protect the insured from loss of life, while non-life insurance products protect the insured pays premiums to the insurance companies. These premiums are used to fund claims. The cash collected from the premiums may cover more than claims for most periods. There are guidelines in investing that insurance companies have to follow to ensure that they have enough cash when claims are made. Insurance companies are regulated by the Insurance Commission. Philippine Stock Exchange or PSE provides a system for the trading of equity securities of publicly listed companies. These equity securities are common stocks and preferred stocks. An individual who wants to invest and trade in the stock market cannot go directly to PSE to buy and sell stocks. He has to open an account with an accredited stock brokerage firm where he can channel his buy and sell orders of equity securities. Stock brokerage firms. Investing in the stock market has to be coursed through stock brokerage firms. At present, there are online brokers and live brokers. With online brokers, one can trade in the stock market through the internet. COL Financial and BPI Trade are two of the online brokers in the Philippines. To trade online, one must have an account and deposit with the online broker. With live brokers, one needs a telephone to call brokers and place orders. Settlement of the transactions can be arranged with a broker. Life brokers normally have their messengers who deliver confirmation slip as well as collect and deliver checks. Confirmation receipts are forms of evidence regarding the executed buy or sell transaction that a client placed with his broker. Mutual funds provide opportunities for big and small investors to invest financial instruments which they would not have considered on their own, or they may have considered but do not have the time or the expertise to do it. This includes investments in the stock markets, bonds, treasury notes, and other money market instruments like treasury bills. Mutual funds are owned by investment companies, which enable small investors to enjoy the benefits of investing in a diversified portfolio of securities purchased on their behalf by professional investment managers. When mutual funds use money from investors to invest in newly issued debt or equity securities, they finance new investment by firms. Conversely, when they invest in debt or equity securities already held by investors, they are transferring ownership of the securities among investors. Pension funds. Pension funds are investment pools that pay for workers' retirements. Funds are paid for by either employees, employers, or both. Corporations and all levels of government provide pensions. Companies reduce pension fund risk by relying on fixed income strategies. Other financial institutions, credit unions, serve a specific democratic purpose. They are filled of a membership, such as teachers are members of the military. While products offered resembled retail bank offerings, credit unions are owned by their members and operate for their benefit. Savings and loan associations. Financial institutions that are mutually held and provide no more than 20% of total lending to business fall under the category of savings and loan associations. Individual consumers use savings and loan associations for deposit accounts, personal loans, and mortgage lending. Investment banks and companies. Investment banks do not take deposits. Instead, they help individuals, businesses, and government raise capital through the issuance of securities. Investment companies, more commonly known as mutual fund companies, pool funds from individual and institutional investors to provide them access to the broader securities market. Other financial institutions like government services, insurance system, and social security system, investment banks, and credit unions, among others. It is sufficient to know that there are different types of financial institutions and even more are created over time.
What are financial intermediaries? Financial intermediaries are institutions that reduce the cost of moving funds between savers and borrowers. The most common financial intermediaries are banks, bond markets, and stock markets. Why do we need financial intermediaries? Well, individuals and businesses need to borrow and save at different periods of their lives. Individuals rely on borrowing to invest in things like education and housing. If your car breaks down and you don't have enough money to fix it, you can borrow money for repairs and continue living your life. And individuals need to save for retirement when their incomes drop but their needs don't. Businesses also rely on credit to operate and grow. Entrepreneurs with great ideas but not much money, they can borrow money or sell a stake in their idea to get their venture off the ground. For example, Howard Schultz built Starbucks into a global brand by borrowing and raising capital through several different types of financial intermediaries. Though less common, businesses can also save money. Now, sometimes the individual who needs to borrow knows the individual willing to lend. But financial intermediaries allow you to venture beyond just borrowing $5 from grandma. So we see just how common borrowing and saving through financial intermediaries is. But what happens when these institutions fail? Much like our real bridges, it's only when the metaphorical bridges of financial intermediation crumble that we recognize just how dependent we are on them. As just one example, on September 15, 2008, the world's financial system was shaken to its core when the investment bank Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy. The impact was great, not simply because Lehman was big, but also because it was an important financial intermediary that connected savers to borrowers. The failure of Lehman marked the beginning of a series of events that signaled America's worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. And while there's several significant angles to the Great Recession, one of them was the decreased efficacy of financial intermediation.
Financial instrument, it is a real or virtual document representing a legal agreement involving some sort of monetary value. This can be debt securities like corporate bonds or equity like shares of stock. Investopedia 2016. Let's recall from ABM the following definitions. A financial asset is any asset that is cash, an equity instrument or another entity, a contractual obligation to receive cash or another financial asset from another entity, a contractual right to exchange instruments with another entity under conditions that are potentially considerable. Examples: note receivables, loans receivables, investment in stocks, investment in bonds. A financial liability is any liability that is a contractual obligation to deliver cash or other financial instrument to another entity, to exchange financial instruments with other entity under conditions that are potentially favorable. Example of this are the notes payable, loans payable, bonds payable. An equity instrument is any contract that evidences a residual interest in the assets of an entity after deducting all liabilities. To be classified as an equity instrument, an instrument must satisfy two conditions. A. To deliver cash or another financial asset to other entity, and B. To exchange financial assets or financial liabilities with another entity under conditions that are potentially unfavorable to the issuer. Examples: ordinary share capital, preference share capital. Financial instruments. Financial instruments are generally classified into two major categories: equity and debt instruments. Equity instruments generally have varied returns based on the performance of the issuing company. Returns from equity instruments come from either dividends or stock price appreciation. These include common stocks and preferred stocks. Preferred stock has priority over common stock in terms of claims over the assets of a company. This means that if a company were to be liquidated and its assets have to be distributed, no asset will be distributed to common stockholders unless all the claims of the preferred stockholders have been given. Moreover, preferred stockholders have also priority over common stockholders in cash dividend declaration. Dividends to preferred stockholders are usually in a fixed rate. No cash dividend will be given to common stockholders unless all the dividend due to preferred stockholders are paid first. Common stock are the real owners of the company. If the company's growth is spurring, the common stockholders will benefit on the growth. Moreover, during a profitable period, for which company may decide to declare higher dividends, preferred stock will receive a fixed dividend rate, while common stockholders receive all the excess. Most companies have only common stocks in their stockholders' equity, but some companies have both common stocks and preferred stocks. PLDT and Globe have both common stocks and preferred stocks in their stockholders' equity. As its name suggests, a preferred stock has priority over a common stock in terms of claims over the assets of a company. This means that if a company is to be liquidated and its assets have to be distributed, no assets will be distributed to common stockholders unless all the claims of the preferred stockholders have been given. Debt instruments generally have fixed returns due to fixed interest rates. A debt instrument can be in a paper or electronic form. These instruments also give market participants the option to transfer the ownership of debt from one party to another. Bonds, debentures, leases, certificates, bills of exchange, and promissory notes are examples of debt instruments. The Treasury bonds and Treasury bills issued by the National Treasury are forms of indebtedness of the national government. Treasury bills, or popularly known as T-bills, are peso-denominated short-term fixed income securities issued by the Republic of the Philippines through its Bureau of Treasury. The Treasury bills, which are in the tenors of 91 days, 182 days, and 360 days, are auctioned at the National Treasury every Monday to accredited dealers. These are eventually farmed out to both institutional and retail investors on Wednesdays. The National Treasury also issues retail treasury bonds. This bonds is an instrument of indebtedness issued by a national government to support government spending. It generally includes a commitment to pay periodic interest called coupon payments and to repay the face value on the maturity date. Government use them to raise funds that can be spent on new projects or infrastructure, and investors can use them to get a set return paid at regular intervals. These bonds have usually low interest rates and have very low risk of default since the government assures that this will be paid. Corporate bonds is a type of debt security that is issued by a firm and sold to investors. The company gets the capital it needs, and in return, the investor is paid a pre-established number of interest payments at either a fixed or variable interest rate. These bonds usually have higher interest rates than treasury bonds. If the company which issued the bonds goes bankrupt, the holder of the bonds will no longer receive any return from their investment, and even their principal investment can be wiped out. Financial market. A financial market in which people trade financial securities and derivatives at low transaction cost. Some of the securities include stocks and bonds and precious metals. A financial market where buyers and sellers trade commodities, financial securities, foreign exchange and other freely exchangeable items, and derivatives of value at low transaction costs and at prices that are determined by market forces. Financial market acts as an intermediary between the savers and the investors by mobilizing funds between them. Functions of financial market. It facilitates mobilization of savings and put it to the most productive uses. It helps in determining the price of the securities. The frequent interaction between investors helps in fixing the price of securities on the basis of their demand and supply in the market. It provides liquidity to tradable assets by facilitating the exchange, as the investor can readily sell their securities and convert assets into cash. It saves the time, money, and efforts of the parties, as they don't have to waste resources to find probable buyers or sellers of securities. Further, it reduces cost by providing valuable information regarding the securities traded in the financial market. The financial market may or may not have a physical location. Examples: the exchange of assets between the parties can also take place over the internet or phone. Classification of financial market. Number 1, by nature of claim. Under the nature of claim, we have the debt market and the equity market. Debt market is the market where fixed claims or debt instruments such as debentures or bonds are bought and sold between investors. Equity market is a market wherein the investors deal in equity instruments. It is the market for residual claims. Number 2, by maturity of claim. Money market and capital market. The money market where monetary assets such as commercial paper, certificate of deposits, treasury bills, etc., which mature within a year, are traded is called money market. It is the market for short-term funds. No such market exists physically. The transactions are performed over a virtual network, either internet or phone. Capital market is the market where medium and long-term financial assets are traded in the capital market. It is divided into two types: the primary market and the secondary market. A primary market is a financial market wherein the company listed on an exchange for the first time issues new security, or already listed company brings the fresh issue. Secondary market, alternately known as the stock market. A secondary market is an organized marketplace wherein already issued securities are traded between investors such as individuals, merchant bankers, stockbrokers, and mutual funds. To raise money, users of fund will go to a primary market to issue new securities through a public offering of private placement. The sale of new securities to the general public is referred to as a public offering, and the first offering of stocks is called an initial public offering. The sale of new securities to one investor or a group of investors is referred to as a private placement. However, supplier of funds or the holders of the securities may decide to sell the securities that have previously been purchased. The sale of previously owned securities takes place in secondary markets. The Philippine Stock Exchange is both a primary and secondary market. Number 3 is by timing of delivery. Cash market, the market where the transaction between buyers and sellers are settled in real time. Future markets is one where the delivery of settlement of commodities takes place at a future specified date. Number 4, by organizing structure. Exchange-traded market, a financial market which has a centralized organization with a standardized procedure. Over-the-counter market, an OTC is characterized by a decentralized organization having customized procedures. The whole concept of the financial system shows the different providers and users of funds and the role of financial intermediaries such as the banks, insurance companies, stock brokerage firms, and among others. Financial instruments are generally classified into two major categories. We have the equity instruments or stocks and the debt instruments. Their differences revolve around the risk-return trade-off applicable to these two financial instruments. If you want to further the studies, just find videos on YouTube. I hope you understand and goodbye.